Hello, everybody. I'm Rainbow, and welcome to Dimensional Walking. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that I experienced a couple days ago that was a bit disturbing for me. And I think at first, when I had talked to Michael about possibly doing this video, I just didn't want to do it because it was so disturbing. Then I realized that as an empath, and since we have this channel, I just figured that I would go ahead and share with you something that happened to me um, when I was doing my dimensional walking, and it has happened to me before, and I have shared these kinds of interactions in the ethereal world in the dream time with you guys. So I thought I would just go ahead and tell you guys because I think it has to do with the times that we're living in. So, just letting you know, this is a little disturbing, and I don't mean to tell you anything that's going to kind of make you uncomfortable, but this is not something comfortable that I'm going to tell you, even for me discussing it with you or telling you what I experienced. So, just want to let you know that if you don't want to hear something very disturbing and creepy in the ethereal world, then this may not be the video for you. So, about 3 days ago, I had such a bad experience that it was something that affected me the next day to the point to where I literally just in the evening, the following evening, I just didn't even want to be alone. And that's not like me because I'm kind of a little bit of a warrior when it comes to having courage in the dark. And so I don't know when these experiences are going to happen in the dream time. I have no knowing. I don't know what triggers them. I don't understand why they happen, but what I do know is that I feel obligated to kind of talk to you about this. So I went to bed just like any other night. I fell asleep, and when I fell asleep, it was pretty much quick. It wasn't like I usually sleep pretty good. This happened, and usually these experiences will happen around it'll be in the morning when light's starting to come through. So I'm going to say about not not the normal, you know, 3 o'clock or whatever that most people may look up and see when they have some scary experience. This is usually around 5 in the morning, and that's the time frame for me. Somehow I must get some type of REM sleep where I must get myself into a position to where that's where I'm most empowered, where I'm most able to explore and do the stuff that I go do in the dimensional walking time. So, what I ended up doing was I got up to use the bathroom, I went back to bed, and I immediately was just in a place. And this was an airport, and I was working for, I thought, an airline, and I had this uniform on. And I noticed that the people walking around me were a little strange. I didn't quite understand kind of the energy of where I was at. I knew I was at an airport, but it didn't seem quite right because I had people coming up to me who were asking me questions about where they belonged. They were showing me paperwork, asking me to look into something because they were upset about family members and where were their family members and what was happening. And I had a woman come up to me and she handed me a piece of paper and said, "Look at this and explain this to me and tell me what's going on." And I was looking at it and I didn't understand it, so I wanted to talk to her more. So on an intercom, I called her name. Her name was Catherine. So she didn't come to the desk where I was at. So I walk around and there she's sitting. And she's sitting in a way that was not typical. She was like lounging in a chair, um, sprawl-legged, and just not even concerned at that point about the paper that she gave me. She was really more distraught over being there. And I'm starting to look around. I'm thinking, I wonder if this is purgatory. I wonder if because it didn't have the look of a typical airport. It looked like these people were all heading into places that were unknown to me, but where they were designated to go. So I have the understanding at that point that, okay, these people were going someplace that they weren't happy about. It wasn't the worst case scenario, but they they had to go. That was pretty much decided for them. I'm realizing this, and all of a sudden I get dropped. I'm in a cave and standing, well, I was standing, and all around me are these strange type of characters. Some that were creepy and didn't make any sense to me, and they were making noises. And I had the impression that I was down very deep underground because I saw rock around me. And right in front of me was um, there was a bed, but there was like one, two, three like granite beds that had these bodies. I couldn't decipher the bodies as far as in the details of what they were, but they were draped in kind of like a cloth that made it blurry to look. And I realized that these were children and the children were already sacrificed. What I was looking at was their souls. And I realized where I was at was a certain aspect of hell. And I was looking straight ahead and I looked at an entrance coming into the room that I was in. And there was a head or one of the head demons coming towards me. Now, when he saw me, he got really angry. And when I saw him, I got really angry. And what I've noticed when I have these experiences is that there's a recognition there of disdain and dislike. I don't necessarily want to say hatred, but pretty close. So I wasn't going to let them take the soul that was in front of me, and it was a little boy. And act flat out said, "You cannot have this soul." And so I walk around the body, and the demon came towards me, and I went towards him, and we were kind of like going to be going into battle. So I go into battle, I thought, towards this demon, and all of a sudden, all these little character dudes who were like and these Looney Tune type characters were coming towards me, but they were real. It wasn't like a cartoon. It was actual crazy looking demons that one was a pig that was coming towards me. And I was saying things like, how does it feel not to be able to hear God's voice? How does it feel to know that you have disappointed? How does it feel to know that you don't know God's love, that you will never know God's love, that you can't feel it, you can't, there's no light, you don't understand the light, you will never experience the light. And all these comments were coming out of me. Now, the head or the lead demon was allowing these other characters to come around me to try to distract me from and get me away from the little boy that I was trying to save. Now there were two other children too, and I was trying to keep I was just going to fight for the three souls. And I was able to get the pig-looking creature away, but then something else came in front of me that was probably the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in any dream, any dimensional walking experience I've ever had. In front of me was a body that had arms and legs coming out of from the top part of the shoulders down. And there were, and it wasn't just arms and legs, it was a hoof here and a hoof there. And it seemed like whatever was coming out of it, and I'd have to say it was probably like it would look like a man, a really grotesque man, but it had to be somebody who was probably 6'3", somebody who was kind of tall. But his skin was kind of rotted and like it looked like his skin looked like parts of it were roots, and the top part of the head was the hair was completely roots. And so I didn't want to touch him, but I realized that what this thing was pretty nuts. So I went ahead, put my head on top of the head because I was going to either pray or try to push it away. And all of a sudden, my hand got pulled into the root system of his head, and I couldn't pull my hand out. And that was ghastly for me because I knew that this thing was pulling me into it. And I knew that if I didn't get my hand pulled away, if I didn't pull away, that it would try to absorb me into it. And so, and at this point, I am just, I'm breathing heavy, and I'm just aghast at what I'm looking at, and I'm totally freaked out, and I can't help the soul, the little boy that I'm trying to help because I can't even help myself. And that was the joy of these demons in this room. And I knew it. And I was just like, you're going to have to wake yourself up to survive this. So I woke myself up, I sat into bed, and I was just breathing really hard. I was sweaty. Where I normally don't have messy blankets, the blankets were all over the place. And Michael heard me. He heard me breathing really heavy, and he heard me making crazy noises, and he saw me thrashing around in in the bed. And it was not something that I really wanted to talk about because it was so scary and so gross that I woke up and I went to the bathroom. I came back and I just laid in bed freaked because that energy of that place that that was still with me. It was something I couldn't get away from. So I was telling Michael, I s- the next day I told him what happened, and I think for me, what was so upsetting is that fe- feel like I failed in saving those children, the souls that were before me, because I didn't understand this before, but once a soul or a person is sacrificed, the soul's taken to a place to where then they do something else with the soul. And I never thought of it that way. I I guess because I don't want to think about stuff like that because it's crazy, but I don't think people understand when they get into this dark stuff that on the other side of the veil, on the side of the paranormal where the darkness exists, there's a routine that they have of how they exist, that for them is normal. And when we're there, we have to figure out how to survive in their rules. We have to learn how to survive in how they exist. And here in this reality, we have eminent domain because we were born here, we get it, and God gives us that right to be in this world. We have the blessing of love and light to be here. We have the blessing of God to be here. In that realm, I was so at risk. I was so in danger. I was so out of my realm of comfort that it made me realize that in the darkness there is such a grotesque way of living that we can't even understand this. It's not something we even want to understand. But this concerned me so. And I don't know if it's because of what's happened in the world today. I didn't watch anything to have this this come about. I think that I try to be a warrior for God and for light and for love and for these children. And I think part of the thing that bothers me is I failed. I wasn't able to save the little soul of the boy that was in front of me. And I don't mean that I don't mean it in the sense that I was going to save it. What I meant was to keep it safe. I wanted to keep that soul safe so that the angels, the guardian angels, and the archangels could come and take the soul. Because I don't think I'm an angel. I think I'm just a warrior for light, and I just didn't have it in me at that point because this grotesque thing was something beyond my comprehension, and I didn't even see it coming. And I knew that all these other crazy creatures did. And that's something that bothers me. So I wanted to share that with you, not to freak you out or to be gross or anything like that. I'm sharing this with you because I think there's a reason, as an empath, there's a reason why I had it. What I want to do is I want to end with Archangel Michael's prayer. And I think that it's important to understand that in today's crazy world, we just need to remember where we come from, the light and the love, and to acknowledge all the angels and the beings that protect us. I think that's what I want to end in this message. So the prayer goes, Saint Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. He, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. And this really hit home for me because I saw the ruin of souls and I didn't like it. We have to think about this, living in this reality. What we, when the end comes for us, what do we want to see? I don't want to go to purgatory. I saw it. I didn't like it. I want to go to heaven. I want to go to where the archangels are and I want to go hang with them. So just figure out who you want to hang with. So take care and thanks for watching. And if you want to comment down below, I appreciate a comment. This was a little dark, so if you don't want to comment in, I totally understand. But I just felt I had to share this because of the state of the world we're in today. Take care and thank you.